the biggest problem that we see is that there is a lack of education. So, we have families that are coming to this country, that are immigrating. They're here, first time immigrants. And, they come with a strong knowledge base of their countries and their country's history. But they don't understand the United States and the relevance of the union movement and the civil rights movement and what, separate but equal meant. What were the Jim Crow laws? All these things that they just don't have an awareness of because they didn't come during that time and they have not been taught of that very recent past history of this country. And so I think that in general, one of the things that's going to help us help our neighbors, our brothers and sisters that are coming from other countries that are making South Florida their home and other parts of this country their home, is to really give them access to knowledge. And we say this, and we say this wholeheartedly. Knowledge is power. And sometimes we know that people come with one concept of what something may mean, or what a party is doing or what they represent, that is not true to what is actually happening here in the United States. So it is about teaching them truth. It is about helping them understand, our history, helping them understand how the United States has where we were, how we started, and how we've come to be the great nation that so many people aspire to live in. It's not something that happened miraculously. It's not something that happened without a fight. And it's also not something that happened without suppressing marginalized and minority people, but also understanding that although they have been suppressed and marginalized, in what context and what things have those minority groups been able to do to overcome the marginalization, to overcome the suppression, to gain access to things in this community that have now led us, the collective, to have access to those things in the community. And I'll just share this story. When my dad came in the 70s, my dad was an accountant by trade in Honduras. When he came here, he had to make ends meet. My dad actually worked in the Everglades. He cut sugarcane, he picked tomatoes. He was a farm worker because he was trying to make sure that he made money, that he paid his taxes, that he paid his bills, and that he helped the family survive. And he understood after being a farm worker that those farm workers did not have access to labor unions, that his wages would get robbed, that they didn't have adequate working environments. People were dehydrating, and just the working conditions were deplorable. He was offered an opportunity to be a carpenter, and he took it. And he became a skilled laborer through the union. The union fought for decent wages for him to have a contract, for us to have healthcare. If it would not have been for my dad having a union, me and my siblings and my mom would not have had healthcare growing up. Things that I think people take for granted. But he understood because he had lived an experience where they didn't have anybody advocating for him. And so he understood the importance of the union movement and what that movement meant for him and for the well-being of his family. During one of those occasions as a carpenter, he was asked to do a special project in New Orleans. And so he traveled to Louisiana. And he says that he would see the water fountains were still marked, water fountains for whites and water fountains for colored. And he had to drink from those water fountains that were labeled as colored. And when he wanted to go to a bar or a restaurant with his colleagues that were there doing work in New Orleans, there were many establishments that did not let them sit down because my dad was a person of color and his friends were people of color. And so, this is past the civil rights movement, but they were still suffering and seeing those prejudices and seeing racism. And so my dad always told me, don't ever allow anybody to treat you as a second class citizen. You were born in this country, you be proud of this country, you do good for other people, you fight hard for people who cannot speak up for themselves. And that had a lot of the molding of who I ended up being, and being not just an educator, but an activist, and fighting for public ed and fighting for students and teachers and our community. But it's because my dad was able to get that lesson through the life that he experienced, through the experience that he lived. And I think so many people are coming into this country not understanding those things, not knowing the history of this country, and they're missing out on and misinterpreting and having misinformation.